Hey guys, welcome back to NateLejeune.com. It's time to put out a new video, man. I have been sick and dealing with it just like a lot of people have. It's normal Louisiana winter, hot, cold, hot, cold. It's air conditioner, heater, sweater, t-shirt. It doesn't matter. You're going to end up getting it before it's all over with. But I'm feeling better and I'm here with you today. Thank you for joining. If you're new here, thank you so much for checking us out. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Hit the comments. I want to hear from you. What do you guys think about these videos? What do you think about some of these thoughts that I'm still chewing on? And I want to hear what you think and your experiences. So it has been a really crazy time these last couple of weeks. It's been Thanksgiving and now we're moving into Christmas, and that can be a really busy time. It can be a really troubling time at times, right? We're dealing with a lot of heavy emotions. We're dealing with family and stress of being prepared and dealing maybe with some relationships that aren't the best that they can be. But it is also a time that we experience a lot of really great things and a lot of happy moments. And we make a lot of really amazing memories. This is a time that we look back on and share a lot of fun stories on. I love being with family, being with friends, being around a table or around a coffee bar or something and just sharing a really great story. There's something about stories that we really enjoy. I'm going to go biblical here, but that's what the Bible is, right? It is a combination of a ton of different stories that let us know about its author. It helps us to understand what God is about, his character and who he is and what he is all about and truly what his whole deal is to bring us back into relationship with him. And in that book, I've been doing a lot of really, really amazing studies. And King David was one of my favorite people for a long time. That might be changing, and I'll share that in another video. But King David was just such an amazing human that has some amazing stories, from being a young man who kills Goliath with a rock to, all of the different things that he accomplished as a king and as a man, and how he led people and how he was super sensitive, and it just all of the things about King David that made him seem very human, but also very surreal in a lot of different ways. First Kings begins to introduce us to a little bit more of that story where we meet his son Solomon. Solomon is what is considered to be the wisest man in the whole world that's ever existed. God himself says there'll never be another man like this, and yet when I find the early portions of Solomon, it didn't quite start out that way, and we definitely know how it ended. It definitely didn't end the way that you would think from the wisest man in the world. But I find, number one, the story starts off with a relationship. Right? We know that that's something that's super important to me and what I want to tie everything back to. It starts with the relationship of King David to his son, the exchanging of a passion to build a house for God, a temple, a place that God would indwell with his people. That passion, that want, that desire was passed on from King David to Solomon, as well as the wisdom of how to lead the people, a charge and wisdom. All came from this relationship that both King David and Solomon shared. And so here we see a young King Solomon immediately making some pretty big mistakes. If you go back and read it, it said that King Solomon was making these shrines to other gods, and he was making some pretty massive mistakes, yet he still has this interaction, this story of a dream between Solomon and God, where Solomon is asked a question that would change the rest of that story in 1st and 2nd Kings. And he says, "What is it that you want?" The entire book was open to him. Every option was available to him. He could have anything and everything. And I find Solomon's response to God to be very interesting. He first speaks to the past. He speaks to what got them to this point, what got the people to this point, what got Solomon to this point, what was David's story. He speaks to the past. You see, every single thing that you and I are going to accomplish, achieve, that we're driven to, our passions, that purpose, that thing that's inside of us that we're all trying to tap into, they're all tied to our past. they're all tied to the context of what got us to this moment. When I share my story of growing up in a single mother home and of physically and mentally experiencing abuse, of seeing things that young children should not see and experience, of dealing with some really heavy things, I actually don't look back on that with regret. I don't look back on that wishing that things would have been different. Instead, I embrace that context creates who I am today. It created my purpose. It created that passion inside of me to help people experience the best relationships possible. And Solomon does that here. He's offered anything he wants, and he immediately goes back to the past because his experiences are all tied to the context of who he was in this moment. Then he speaks to the current present. He speaks to where they are right now in this moment, that he is now king as a young man leading God's people. And that was a heavy, heavy thing for him to deal with. It was weighing very heavily on him to step into this role that his father had led the people of Israel so magnificently well. And now Solomon was here with this weighty, weighty expectation, and he needed help with it. He talks about how can I lead the people? How am I going to do this in such a way? Then he talks about the future. We all have to understand that the context of our past makes us who we are, but we are where we are, and we need to recognize where we are. But then we need to be able to look towards the future. Where is it that we want to go? Why am I so interested in my current passions and my current purpose, which are tied to my past? And how does that help me get to my future? It's because those things are indicators about what direction I should be going. Or we all have GPS on our phones. I am the absolute world's worst. My wife will tell me we don't argue about many things, but where we're going to eat and directions on how to get there are probably the two top ones that we argue about. And I remember, like, before we had cell phones, trying to have somebody navigate you with a map was an extremely difficult proposition. Now we have these cell phones and we enter where we go. And even when I know how to get there, I still find myself entering this address in my phone because I want to find the best, quickest way to get there. And that's what our passions and our purpose do. When we are able to embrace the fact that our past has created who we are in all of our current form, faults, great things, areas that we want to work on, and strengths that we currently have, all of it is tied to the context of our past. If we embrace that, if we tap into that, it gives us some identity to our passions and our purpose. Those two things are tied together because they point us towards our future. And here King Solomon is sitting in this moment with God in a dream where he has an opportunity to ask for anything that he wants. And his first inclination is to think about the past, think about where they currently are, and think about what his father charged him with in the future. And tying all of those things together, he asked for wisdom. He asked for experiences that would help him lead God's people the right way. Wisdom is one of those things that we can learn bits and pieces through books and text, and we can learn even some from other people's experiences and stories. But I find that they're all mainly learned through experiences and relationships. He had the relationship with King David that had taught him a certain amount, a certain level of experience and wisdom. But it was asking God for wisdom to lead his people that was going to be earned through experiences. As soon as he awakes from this dream, he's immediately given an opportunity to practice wisdom. He is given an experience that would begin to shape and twist and turn and mold his leadership for the rest of his kingdom as he led Israel. And that was the story of the two mothers, and one who had a baby who died and stole the other lady's baby and said it was hers. And they have this whole interaction with Solomon. It was that experience that began to shape some of his leadership principles. You see, wisdom is gained through experience, and all of that ties back to our relationships. King Solomon was such a great leader because of the relationships that he formed with the people that he led, and he led them with wisdom. So I ask you today, what does your past say that you are today? It doesn't always create who we are, but all of it plays a piece in who we are. And then where are you today? Where is the location? What are you doing? What is it that you want to change and be different? And how does that tap into your purpose? How does that tap into your passion? How do we embrace our past, get healing from it, experience that healing completely and wholly in a way that I can glean the really good things from a past that maybe isn't so great, embrace that into my passion, make that plug into my purpose that will direct me into my future? I really don't want to talk around in circles and make things seem really confusing and use a bunch of words that ends up just making me try to sound smart, because then you just don't sound smart at all. What I'm really trying to do, though, is there is an ultimate future for all of us. I personally believe that that best future can be found in Jesus Christ. But even if you want nothing to do with him, if you're so turned off by religion, I am as well. But if you're completely not into this whole God thing, this whole Jesus thing, if you want to be the best leader that you can be, embrace the past, identify the past, understand the context that the past creates, see where you currently are, and let those things direct where you want to go in the future, and make sure all of that is tied through really great relationships that you have formed. That will make you the best leader possible. If you're looking for that in your own personal life, I'd love to introduce you to a man named Jesus. He has nothing to do with religion. He didn't create any type of church. He didn't create any genre of church or religion that you can think of. He's an individual who ultimately wants a relationship with us and wants to introduce himself to you. He has been the very thing that I have discovered that has helped me heal from a very tumultuous and full of trauma past, embrace the really good things that have come from that, help me identify where I currently am, embrace where I am, understand that I am here to learn, to glean, and to take in things where I am, to affect the world around me. And if I do those things through relationship, it will lead me to the future that ultimately I'm trying to achieve. That's my thought for today. Look at your past, embrace your present, tap those things in through relationship, passions, and purpose, and let those things lead you into a really great future. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love for you to chew on that with me. Look for some of my new posts that are going to come out in this next couple of days. I'll have a new blog post that'll be out later this weekend. We're going back to see some family, but as soon as I come back, I'll get out a new blog post. We'll get that out for you, and we'll also start to turn the corner a little bit as my studies has led me to some of the first letters that Paul, one of my new favorite characters of the Bible, began to write to the first church, the first group and community of people that was identified as Christians, identified as the church. What did they look like? What were the conversations with them? How were their interactions? I began to study all of that, and it's super intriguing. And I think that I'm going to share some of those thoughts. I'm going to share some of those relationship points that I have gathered out of that, and some of the ideas that I have gathered that maybe will get us back in tune with what it originally was supposed to look like. Thank you again for tuning in to the website. I appreciate you. I love you. I hope that you're having a really great week. Love to hear your thoughts. Share them with us and come back. Follow us here on Instagram, on YouTube, on the Twitter page, on Facebook, and here at natelejeune.com for more updates and more content. Have a great week. God bless you. Peace.